The Empire had eaten worlds for 10,000 years. They moved through the darkness between stars like hungry shadows, always searching, always consuming. Every planet they found became food. Every species they met became dust. They were the greatest conquerors the galaxy had ever known, and they had never lost. Was one of their best scouts. He had visited 300 worlds before this one. He had walked on surfaces of ice and fire. He had breathed gases that would kill most creatures in seconds. His body was made of silicon, hard and cold, built to survive anything. They did not feel fear. They did not know the meaning of the word. When his small ship entered the atmosphere of the blue planet called Earth, felt only boredom. The readings showed liquid water, oxygen atmosphere, carbon-based life. Simple, primitive, another easy harvest for the Empire. He landed his vessel on a dark beach, far from the lights of human cities. The sand was pale under the moonless sky. Waves crashed against the shore with a sound that meant nothing to him. He had heard waves on 100 worlds. They all sounded the same. On the other side of the dunes, a young man named sat alone by a small fire. He was a marine biologist, a scientist who studied the tiny creatures that lived in the ocean. He had come to this beach near the city to collect samples for his research. His grandfather Minu had fished these waters for 60 years and had grown up playing in this same sand. Tonight he was not thinking about science. He was thinking about the stars. The sky was very clear, and he could see thousands of them burning in the darkness. He wondered, as humans often do, if anyone was looking back. Then he saw the light. It fell slowly, much slower than a shooting star. It made no sound as it passed over his head and disappeared behind the dunes, stood up. His heart was beating fast. He knew that airplanes did not move like that. Satellites did not fall so gently. Something was wrong. He should have called someone. He should have run away. But was a scientist, and scientists are curious creatures. He walked toward where the light had fallen. Stepped out of his ship and looked around. The beach was empty. Good. He did not want to deal with natives yet. First he needed samples. Soil, water, air. The standard procedure before any harvest. He would send the data back to the mothership. Commander Taelize would approve the operation, and within one cycle this world would begin to die. He extended one of his appendages toward the ground. His body was covered in sensors that could detect minerals, temperature, radiation. One touch would tell him everything he needed to know about this planet. His appendage pressed into the sand. For one moment, nothing happened. Then felt something he had never felt before in 300 worlds. Pain. The sand was moving, not in the way sand moves when wind blows. It was moving into him. Tiny things, smaller than he could see, were crawling across his flesh. They were eating. Screamed. The sound he made was not in any frequency humans could hear, but it echoed across the beach like a wave of pure terror. He tried to pull his appendage back, but the damage was already done. The tiny things were inside him now. They were multiplying. They were hungry. He fell to the ground, thrashing, his body cracking against the sand. Every grain that touched him brought more of them, more mouths, more hunger. His silicon flesh, which had survived the vacuum of space and the heat of dying stars, was dissolving like sugar in water. Came over the dune and stopped. His mind could not understand what he was seeing. There was a creature on the beach, something that looked like it was made of glass and metal and nightmare. It was screaming without sound, rolling in the sand, and pieces of it were falling away like wet paper. He should have been afraid. Any reasonable person would have run, but saw something in the creature's movements that he recognized. He had seen fish caught in nets make those same desperate motions. He had seen crabs trapped in tide pools fight the same losing battle. This thing, whatever it was dying. Ran forward. He did not think about danger. He did not think about what the creature might do to him. He only thought about the rocks nearby, the flat stones where no sand gathered, where the tide had washed everything clean. He grabbed the creature. It was cold and hard under his hands, and it was shaking. He pulled with all his strength, dragging it across the beach, away from the sand. The creature was heavy, heavier than anything he had ever lifted, but fear gives strength to small bodies. He pulled it onto the rocks. The creature stopped screaming. It lay still, its body broken and leaking strange fluid. Knelt beside it, breathing hard. He could see now that the damage was terrible. Where the creature had touched the sand, its flesh was gone, eaten away to nothing. Slowly the creature turned what might have been its head. It looked at with eyes that glowed faint blue. It did not attack. It did not speak. It only stared at the small human who had pulled it from death. In 10,000 years, no living thing had ever helped. Prey ran. Enemies fought. Nothing rescued. There was no word in language for what this human had done. Far above, in orbit around Earth, Commander Taileyes watched through optical sensors. She saw the beach. She saw the human. She saw her best scout lying broken on the rocks, nearly killed by dirt. She had conquered worlds that shot fire from their surfaces. She had eaten species that lived inside stars. She had never been afraid of anything. But watching that sand move, watching it devour flesh like water dissolves salt, she felt something cold growing in her chest, a feeling her species had forgotten long ago. The planet below was not what they expected. The planet below was alive. And it was very, very hungry. Had visited worlds made of poison. He had walked through rivers of acid and breathed air that burned. None of it had hurt him. His silicon body was built to survive everything the universe could throw at it. They were perfect. They were invincible. Now he lay on cold rocks, watching pieces of himself fall away like dead leaves. The tiny things were still inside him. He could feel them moving through his body, eating and multiplying. His internal systems tried to fight back, but they did not know how. In all of history, nothing had ever attacked them from the inside. They had no defense against an enemy they could not see. Sat beside the alien creature and did not know what to do. His phone was in his pocket, but who would he call? The police? The army? What would he say? Hello, there is a dying monster on the beach, please send help. He looked at the creature's wounds. The flesh around them was still changing, still breaking down. Whatever was eating it had not stopped. It was only slower now, away from the sand. Was a biologist. He studied small things. Bacteria, microorganisms, tiny creatures that lived everywhere on Earth, in the soil, in the water, in the air. Most people never thought about them. They were invisible after all, but knew the truth that most humans forgot. Earth was never empty. Every surface crawled with life. Every breath contained thousands of living things. Humans carried more bacteria in their bodies than human cells. The soil under your feet held more organisms than there were stars in the sky. To humans, this was normal. They had evolved together with these tiny creatures for millions of years. Their bodies knew how to live with them, how to use them, how to fight them when necessary. But this creature was not from Earth. Understood now. The alien had touched the sand, and the sand had treated it like food. Billions of bacteria, fungi, and microbes had found a new meal. They did not know they were attacking an invader from space. They were just doing what they always did. Eating. Tried to speak. His translation systems were damaged but not destroyed. He forced words through his broken body, sounds that came out in the human language. Why, he said. His voice was like metal scraping against glass. Why did you help? Stared at him, the creature could talk. Of course it could talk. Nothing made sense anymore, so why not talking aliens? You were dying, said simply. I am your enemy. I did not know that. Was silent for a long moment. His blue eyes flickered like dying flames. He tried to understand this human, this small, soft creature that had dragged him from death. Among the weakness was consumed. The strong ate the weak. That was the only law. Your world, said, it is poison. My world is home. The small things in the dirt, They are everywhere. Nodded, everywhere, in the soil, in the water, in the air you are breathing right now. Made a sound that might have been fear, the air. He was breathing them. They were inside him with every breath. No wonder his body was failing. He was drowning in an ocean of invisible life. Far above, Commander Talais had called an emergency meeting. 12 commanders floated in the darkness of the mothership, watching the data from sensors. They saw the analysis of the soil. They saw the count of organisms per grain of sand. The numbers were impossible. "This cannot be correct," said one commander. "No world has this much life." "The sensors are not broken," Talais replied. "I have checked 3 times. One handful of their dirt contains more organisms than our entire." "Yes." The commanders were silent. They had conquered worlds of fire and ice. They had destroyed civilizations that stretched across star systems. They had never imagined that dirt could be dangerous. "We proceed with the harvest," said the eldest commander. "We always proceed." "Our soldiers will die," Talais said. "Then we burn the surface first, remove the threat, standard protocol." Talais wanted to agree. They did not retreat. They did not run. But something in her chest would not let her speak. She kept seeing flesh dissolve. She kept seeing those numbers. Billions of organisms in a single handful. What kind of world grew so much life? What kind of planet needed to be so hungry? On the beach had made a decision. He could not leave the creature here. It would die before morning. Whatever it was, wherever it came from, he could not watch it die. He called his grandfather. Minyu arrived an hour later in his old truck. He was 73 years old, with hands like leather and eyes that had seen many strange things during his years at sea. He looked at the alien on the rocks and did not scream. He did not run. He simply nodded, as if dying space creatures were something he found on the beach every week. "Help me lift it," said. Together they carried to the truck. The alien was lighter now. So much of his body was gone. They laid him in the back on clean plastic sheets, away from any soil or dirt. "Where do we take it?" Minyu asked. "I do not know," admitted. "But we cannot stay here. The sun will rise soon. People will come." They drove through the dark streets, away from the beach, away from the ship still sitting in the sand. Lay in the back of the truck and watched the human stars through the window. He had seen so many skis, so many suns. He had never thought he would die under any of them. But these humans confused him. He was their enemy. His people had come to eat their world, and yet they carried him gently like something precious, like something worth saving. He did not understand. Perhaps he thought that was the most dangerous thing about them. Not the microbes, not the hungry soil, but the way they cared for things that could not help them. The way they reached towards suffering instead of away from it. They had no word for mercy. Maybe that was why they were afraid. The video spread across the world like fire. Had not meant to share it. He had recorded only a few seconds with his phone while waiting for his grandfather, just to prove to himself that he was not going crazy. But his phone was connected to the cloud, and the cloud was connected to everything. And by sunrise, 3 billion humans had watched an alien creature scream on a Korean beach. The governments of the world tried to control the story. They failed. How do you hide something that everyone has already seen? How do you deny what is playing on every screen in every home? They found the alien ship within hours. It sat in the sand like a black egg, still and silent. Scientists came from Seoul and Tokyo and Beijing. Soldiers built walls around the beach. Helicopters filled the sky like angry birds. But no one could find the alien. And Minyu had taken to the only safe place they knew, the old fish processing plant that Minyu had owned before he retired. It was abandoned now, full of rust and memories, but it was clean. No dirt, no soil, only concrete and metal and the smell of salt. They kept alive, but barely. His body continued to fail. The microbes inside him were still eating, slower than before but never stopping. He needed help that two fishermen could not give. Arrived on the second day. She was a military scientist, an expert in strange biology, and she was very angry. The government had pulled her from her comfortable lab and thrown her into a helicopter without explanation. She had watched the video during the flight and had not believed her eyes. Now she stood in the old factory, looking at the dying alien, and she believed. "How is it still alive?" she asked. "I do not know," admitted. "I have been keeping it cold, away from anything organic, but the damage is already done." Knelt beside and studied his wounds. Her trained eyes saw what had missed: the bacterial colonies, the fungal growth, the war happening inside the alien silicon body. "Our microbes are treating it like food," she said quietly. "They do not know it is alive. They just know it is made of things they can eat." "Can you stop it?" "Maybe if I had the right tools, the right equipment." She looked around the dirty factory. "Not here." Within 6 hours they had built a containment facility. Not on land, where the soil could not be trusted, but on a ship anchored far from shore. They moved in a sealed container, carried by helicopter, never touching the ground. Lieutenant commanded the security. She was 32 years old, sharp and serious, with no patience for things that did not make sense. Aliens did not make sense. Dying aliens made even less sense. But she followed her orders because that was what soldiers did. "The public is panicking," she told. "The government wants answers." "Then they will have to wait. I do not understand this creature yet." "More ships have appeared in orbit, 7 of them. They are not responding to our signals." Felt cold. She looked at, floating in his sterile tank, connected to machines she had invented in desperation. If there were more of them coming and they were anything like this one, Earth was in terrible danger. But then she remembered the video, the alien screaming, the sand eating his flesh. Maybe Earth was not the one in danger. Was the government liaison, a nervous man with round glasses and a habit of speaking too quickly. He arrived on the ship with demands from the president, the prime minister, the United Nations. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What do they want? Why are they here? Had been waiting for that question. She had spent 2 days talking to through a translation device, recording every word, trying to understand. "They are called she said. "They consume worlds, they eat everything. Plants, animals, water, air, they leave nothing behind." The room was silent. "They have done this to thousands of planets, millions maybe. They have never failed." "And they are here for Earth?" asked. "Yes." Stepped forward. "Then we fight, we have weapons, missiles, bombs. We will not simply let them take us." Shook her head. "You do not understand. They do not need to fight us. They will simply land and begin eating. Their soldiers will spread across the surface like a wave, consuming everything in their path. Our weapons cannot kill something that does not stop moving, does not stop eating, does not stop." "Then what do we do?" Looked at through the glass. The alien was watching her with his flickering blue eyes. He had told her everything. He had told her why his people would fail. "We do nothing," she said. "Earth will fight for us." She explained what had shown her. They had evolved on a sterile world, a planet with almost no life. Their bodies had no immune system because they had never needed one. They had conquered thousands of worlds, but all those worlds were like theirs. Simple, clean, dead. Earth was different. Earth was so full of life that every surface was a battlefield. Bacteria fought fungi. Viruses attacked bacteria. Tiny organisms waged constant war for every grain of sand, every drop of water. Humans lived in this chaos because they had grown up in it. Their bodies knew how to survive. They did not. "When they touch our soil, they will die," said. "When they breathe our air, they will die. When they drink our water, they will die. Earth is poison to them, beautiful, living poison." Took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. You are saying we are safe. No, I am saying they will try anyway, told me. The do not retreat. They will burn our atmosphere before they accept defeat. They will boil our oceans. They will destroy everything rather than admit that one small planet was too strong for them. Then how do we stop them? Looked at again. The alien nodded slowly, a human gesture he had learned from. We make them afraid, she said. We show them what Earth really is, and we pray that they are smart enough to run, did not sleep for 3 days. She worked in the floating laboratory, surrounded by screens and samples, trying to understand exactly how deadly Earth was. The answer terrified her more each hour. 1 gram of soil contained 1 billion bacteria. 1 billion in a single gram. There were more microorganisms in a handful of beach sand than there were stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and these tiny things were not peaceful. They were hungry. They were always hungry. She tested samples of damaged flesh. Under her microscope, she watched Earth's bacteria multiply inside the alien tissue. They did not care that it was silicon instead of carbon. They did not care that it came from another world. They only knew that it was made of things they could break down, things they could use, things they could eat. They had conquered the galaxy because nothing could stop them, but they had never met a planet that was already full of conquerors. Earth's microbes had been fighting each other for 4 billion years. They were the greatest survivors in the universe, and they were everywhere. Visited every day. He did not know why he kept coming. The alien was his enemy after all, but enemies did not look at you with confused gratitude. Enemies did not ask questions about human customs with something like wonder in their voice. Why do you grow plants? Asked one afternoon. To eat them. You do not simply take what you need from the ground. Smiled sadly. We cannot eat dirt. We need to change it first, put seeds in it, wait for them to grow, then we can eat. Was silent for a long moment. You work with the soil, you touch it every day. Yes. And it does not eat you. No, we grew up together, the soil and us. We are old friends. This answer seemed to disturb more than anything else. They took what they wanted. They did not make friends with their food. They did not learn to live with danger. The idea that humans walked barefoot on something that could destroy silicon flesh was impossible to understand. Your children, said slowly, they play in the dirt. Yes, it is good for them, helps them grow strong. Made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been despair. You raise your young in poison, you feed them death, and they grow strong from it. I never thought about it that way. My people will never understand you. We thought we were the strongest things in the universe, but you swim in an ocean that would kill us in minutes. You breathe air thick with things that eat our flesh. You are more dangerous than any weapon we have ever seen. Sat down beside the alien's tank. We do not feel dangerous. We feel small. When we looked at the stars, we were afraid of what might be out there. You were afraid of us. Yes. His blue eyes flickered. You should not have been. You should have been afraid for us. On the mothership, Commander Taileyes received the final reports from her science teams. The news was worse than she had expected. Earth's atmosphere contained spores that could survive the vacuum of space. Its oceans were filled with bacteria that ate metal. Its soil was a living weapon, constantly changing, constantly adapting. Even the humans themselves were walking ecosystems, carrying trillions of organisms on their skin, in their mouths, in their blood. If a single soldier touched a single human, both would die. The soldier from infection, the human from the toxic chemicals the dying body would release. It was mutual destruction at the smallest level. We cannot harvest this world, Taileyes said to her commanders. The cost would be too high. Then we burn it, said the eldest commander. Sterilize everything from orbit. Kill every organism before we land. That would take centuries, maybe longer. Their life is everywhere, under the ground, in the deepest oceans, in the highest clouds. We would have to destroy the entire planet to be sure. Then we destroy the entire planet. Tail Eyes wanted to agree. The way was simple. If something stood in your path, you removed it. If a world was dangerous, you erased it. They had done it before 1,000 times. But something held her back. Those numbers in the reports, that impossible density of life. Earth was not just a planet. It was a monster wearing the face of a garden, a predator pretending to be prey. And somewhere deep in her silicon mind, Tail Eyes wondered if they had finally met something they could not kill. On the ship below, finished her calculations and called a meeting. I know how to save Earth, she said, but we need to help us. Crossed her arms. You trust the alien, it came here to destroy us. It came here to scout us, it did not know what we were, now it does, looked through the glass and now it wants to help. Why would it help us? Answered from the corner of the room, because we helped it first. The plan was simple but terrifying. They would send samples of Earth to the fleet. Soil, water, air, sealed in containers that would open out of curiosity. And when they opened them, Earth's invisible army would be set free inside their sterile ships. It will not kill them all, admitted, but it will show them what they are facing. It will show them that Earth fights back. Shook his head. And if they get angry, if they decide to burn us anyway? Then we die, said. Everyone turned to look at the alien. His voice was weak, but his words were clear. But my people respect strength. They respect danger. If you show them you can hurt them, they might decide you are not worth the cost. Might repeated, that is not very comforting. No, agreed. But it is your only chance. My people do not know how to retreat. You must teach them fear, and you must do it fast before they decide to burn everything. The room was silent. Outside the windows, the ocean stretched to the horizon, blue and calm. Somewhere out there, hidden under the waves, billions of tiny creatures waited. They did not know that aliens had come to eat their world. They did not know that a war was about to begin. They just kept doing what they had always done. Living, fighting, eating. And waiting for anything foolish enough to touch them. The drones launched at midnight. 12 small machines, no bigger than birds, rose from the deck of the ship and climbed toward the stars. Each one carried a sealed container. Each container held samples from Earth, soil from Korean beaches, water from the Pacific Ocean, air collected from mountain peaks. Gifts for the... Watched them disappear into the darkness. Her hands were shaking. Everything depended on what happened next. If they accepted the containers, opened them, and understood the message inside, then maybe Earth would survive. If they decided to attack instead, there would be no second chance. Stood beside her, his eyes on the sky. Do you think it will work? I do not know, I hope so. What happens if it does not? Did not answer. She did not need to. They both knew what burning skis looked like. They had seen the videos shared from other worlds. Cities melting, oceans boiling, life ending in fire and silence. On the mothership, Commander Tail Eyes received the incoming objects with confusion. They were too small to be weapons, too slow to be missiles. Her scanners showed nothing dangerous inside them, just organic matter sealed in metal shells. What are they sending us? Asked one of her officers. I do not know, but they want us to open them. The eldest commander stepped forward. Destroy them. It could be a trap. If they wanted to trap us, they would have sent something larger, something that looked valuable. Tail Eyes studied the readings again. No, they want us to see what is inside. This is a message. She ordered one container brought into a testing chamber. The room was sealed, sterile, safe. Whatever happened inside would not spread to the rest of the ship. The container opened. Nothing happened, just a pile of brown dirt sitting on the floor of the chamber. The officers looked at each other in confusion. Was this a joke? Had the humans sent them garbage as an insult? Then Tail Eyes noticed the readings. The air inside the chamber was changing. Something was spreading through it, something invisible, something alive. The sensors showed millions of particles floating in the enclosed space, moving, multiplying. "What is that?" an officer asked. "Their soil," Talai said softly. "It is breathing." A cleaning drone entered the chamber to collect the sample. It was a simple machine, designed to handle waste, made of the same silicon compounds as flesh. It rolled toward the dirt pile and extended an arm to sweep it away. The arm touched the soil. Talai's watched in horror as the drone began to shake. Its surface cracked. Its lights flickered. Something was growing on it, spreading across its body like a disease, eating through the silicon like acid through paper. The drone fell apart in less than 1 minute. The chamber was silent. Every on the ship had watched through the cameras. Every had seen the same thing. Earth's dirt had eaten their machine. Talai's opened a communication channel. Her voice reached every ship in the fleet, every commander, every soldier. "Watch what I am about to show you." She released the other containers. Water from Earth's oceans dissolved tools in seconds. Air from Earth's mountains carried spores that grew on any surface they touched. Every sample was a weapon. Every gift was a warning. And then she played message. The scout appeared on every screen in the fleet. He was broken, dying, held together by human machines and human medicine. He showed them his wounds. He showed them what Earth's sand had done to him in minutes. He told them about the microbes, the bacteria, the fungi, the billions of tiny creatures that lived on every surface of that blue planet. "This world is not food," said. "This world is a predator. If we land on it, we will die. If we breathe its air, we will die. If we touch its people, we will die. I have seen 300 worlds. I have never seen anything like this." He paused. His blue eyes were dim, but his voice was steady. "The humans did not create these weapons. They did not need to. They grew up in them. They live with death every day and they call it home. We thought we were conquerors, but this planet has been conquering itself for longer than our species has existed. We are not ready for this fight. We will never be ready." The transmission ended. On the mothership, no one spoke. The eldest commander stared at the screen where the dirt had eaten their drone. His confidence was gone. His hunger for conquest had turned to ash in his mouth. "We destroy them from orbit," he said, but his voice had no strength. "We burn everything. We do not touch the surface." "That would take thousands of years," Talais replied. "Their life is everywhere, under the ground, in the oceans, inside their own bodies. We would have to destroy the entire planet down to its core, and even then I am not sure it would be enough." "Then what do you suggest?" Talais looked at the blue planet on her screen. So beautiful, so peaceful, so unbelievably deadly. "We leave," she said. "We mark this system as forbidden. We warn every fleet that comes after us, and we never return." The eldest commander wanted to argue. They did not retreat. They did not run. But he had seen the drone dissolve. He had seen melted flesh. He had seen the numbers, the impossible billions of organisms in a single handful of dirt. For the first time in 10,000 years, they chose not to fight. The fleet turned away from Earth and disappeared into the darkness between stars. On the ship below, received the confirmation from global tracking stations. The alien vessels were leaving. They were accelerating away from the solar system, faster and faster, until they were gone. She sat down on the deck and cried. Found her there an hour later. He sat beside her without speaking. The sun was rising over the ocean, painting the water gold and pink. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "We won," said finally. "We did not fight." "No, Earth did." They sat together in the growing light. Somewhere below them, the ocean was full of life. Whales and fish and tiny creatures too small to see. Somewhere behind them, the land was full of life. Trees and flowers and billions of bacteria in every handful of soil. Humans had always thought they were alone. They had built walls and weapons. They had feared the silence between stars. They had never realized that they were surrounded by the greatest army in the universe. Every grain of sand, every drop of water, every breath of air. Earth was not a garden, it was a fortress. Recovered slowly over the following months, he would never leave the sterile chamber that kept him alive. He would never touch Earth's surface again, but he watched the humans through the glass and he learned. He learned about kindness. He learned about mercy. He learned about a species that fought wars but also planted flowers, that killed animals but also kept them as friends, that lived in poison but called it beautiful. Minu came to visit once a week. He brought pictures of his playing in the sand, looked at those pictures and saw something that had never understood. Humans were not strong because they were big or fast or smart. They were strong because they loved a world that could kill anything else. And that kind of strength could never be conquered.